Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Table Talk with DCC, the Dental Codeology Consortium. I'm Shavonne, one of the DCC directors, and I am so happy to introduce to you two other of the DCC directors. Today I have with me Kathy Forbes and Linda Jorgenson. And before I turn it over to these amazing women in dentistry here, these leaders in dentistry, I want to tell you a little bit more about them. So we're here today to talk to you about the DCC. Linda and Kathy are here to do that, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more about them so you can understand the wealth of knowledge that we are working with here on the DCC directors, right? So Linda has been a dental hygienist for many years. 53 years to be exact. Her clinical experience has included pediatric, orthodontics, and general dentistry. She taught dental hygiene at a career and technical college in Minnesota for 14 years and retired from there in 2013. In retirement, she has stayed involved and connected to her profession by serving in leadership roles in the Wisconsin Dental Hygienists Association as well as the DCC. Linda, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Shavonne, for that introduction. I want to say that it's pretty easy for me to give a historical perspective on the profession and practice of dental hygiene because for me, it isn't just history. I've lived it for 3/4 of my life. So I'm a dental hygiene nerd, and when I found this dental codeology group, I nerd out at just hearing from what others have to say, and it's been one of the pleasures of my life to join this group.
And you've made dental hygiene history. So
I have?
Made it. Yes, you've broke boundaries. You've made an impact. You are part of those that have came before us and blazed a path.
Trailblazing.
So can't wait to hear you and Kathy talk more about DCC. And here now we have Kathy. Kathy has been a dental hygienist, educator, speaker, author, consultant, seminar, and study club leader for over 40 years. She speaks frequently about the correct classification, documentation, treatment planning, and CDT procedure code selection for patients with periodontal disease. In addition, Kathy holds a license with the ADA for current dental terminology, which allows her to provide the most up-to-date understanding of current procedure codes. Kathy is our leader. Kathy leads the Dental Codeology Consortium in reviewing and developing procedure codes relevant to dental hygiene practice, which are presented every year to the Code Maintenance Committee of the American Dental Association each year. Kathy, please say hello.
Oh, hello, everybody, and thank you all for joining us. And speaking about codes has been a passion of mine since the early 90s when I became aware of them. And I'd already been teaching for 12 years and didn't even realize there were CDT codes. And once I started learning them, it was like, we need to get this information out there because what do hygienists do? So being part of the consortium has just been, as Linda said, just awesome to be able to share this information with hygienists so that they can provide the best procedures they can for their patients. So this is fun. This is going to be great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about each of you. And now I'd like to hand the mic over to you, Linda, so that you can carry on the conversation. And once again, I just want to welcome everyone to Table Talk with DCC.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen, and there's some slides that we'll put up, but the way we want to discuss this is you may have noticed that this group and others tends to speak in acronyms, and we're going to talk about 3 of them today. One is the CDT, the second one is the CMC, and then the third one is the DCC. So we're going to get started talking about all those.
Kind of makes your head spin.
Awesome. What we're going to talk about first is that CDT stands for Current Dental Terminology. And this code on practices actually began in 1969. And the ADA wanted to have some commonality and to be able to bill dental insurance companies in terms of the codes and standardization. And they published it in 1969 and went through about 7 revisions. And then in 1990, they created the first CDT1. And I actually still have one. And you can see it says CDT1, and it's very, very skinny, and it's very well worn. But this is what the first book looks like. On the screen, you'll see what it looks like, what it is morphed into now. We've got in the middle of the current dental terminology, and it's probably about an inch thick. The coding companion is a training guide, and then we've, of course, got the apps. But these codes were in August of 2000, the federal government designated the American Dental Association as the definer of the codes. Prior to that, insurance companies kind of had some of their own that they would like to use, but HIPAA guided us that ADA defines the codes, provides common reporting for third-party payers, and it also allows for metrics. We can track every insurance carrier, every dental office can track how many times they perform any particular procedure. It standardizes patient records, efficient processing of claims, and of course the metrics. There happens to be within this particular CDT book, there are 12 categories. And you can see by there's diagnostic, preventive, restorative, endo. And if you look over at the codes, there's like the 100 codes, the 1,000, the 2,000, the 3,000. So it's ease at being able to find it. Within that book, there are 773 dental procedure codes. That's how many procedures in dentistry we do. Notice that this is called a procedure code. We go to the next slide. I wrote an article of Dentistry Today asking us insurance codes versus procedure codes. So often we hear, oh, it's insurance code D1110 or it's insurance code 9430. There are no insurance codes. They're all procedures. We just by language, because many offices bill insurance carriers, call them insurance codes, but they're not. They're actually procedure codes. If someone ever says, what's an insurance code? It doesn't exist. So we're trying to get the profession to quit using the term insurance codes. It's the procedure they perform. Coming down the pike, we're going to find there's actually a new set of types of codes called diagnostic codes. And they're included actually in the CDT manuals. There's 702 dental diagnostic codes, and most of these ICD-10 codes are what medicine uses when you go to your doctor and they have to pick a diagnosis. It comes from medical, but within that there's 702, and currently insurance carriers aren't requiring us to record what the diagnosis is. But I anticipate coming down the road we will need to start doing it, and particularly since the ADA has included it in the manuals now, I think they see something coming that we aren't quite aware of yet. So we will keep you posted as to how that plays out. How would this look? I've actually put 10 different procedure codes that we in hygienists, if you pull up the next slide, these are what they would look like. And most of these dental diagnostic codes are based on the 1999 AAP classification. So as a hygienist, you might have a plaque-induced gingivitis patient. Their dental diagnostic code would be a K05.00, and maybe they've got chronic localized periodontitis, K05.311. And if you actually go look at a current claim form, there's actually room for 4 different dental diagnostic codes. But like I said, they aren't asking for them yet, but we expect to see them coming down the pike. Okay. Using the code, general practice, who can use codes? Any dental healthcare professional who is acting within their scope of practice can use any of the procedure codes. They aren't just for dentists, they aren't just for endodontists, there's no dental hygiene codes. If you perform the procedure in accordance with your State Practice Act, there's a procedure code for that, and you need to be aware of them. And understanding that each state hygienist will have a certain number that they will be able to do. Like state of Washington has a very wide open practice act with restorative. There's over 99 procedure codes they can use. You start getting into some of the other states that don't have as broad a practice act, there may be 50. And I find many hygienists are unaware or were never taught what those procedure codes were.
Kathy, before we move forward, I wanted to revisit something that we talk about often because I think it will help with the message of this is not insurance code, this is a procedure code. From a dental hygiene perspective, how we categorize our patients. When we look at our schedule, we say, oh, I have a couple of adult prophies, a couple of perio maintenances, a couple of SRPs. So when we talk about we have to change the language, it needs to start there. So when we are describing that, okay, we have a schedule of adult prophylaxis or what exactly are we saying and what needs to be corrected?
Well, what we're saying is this is the procedure or the treatment plan for the patient. That's not a diagnosis. A diagnosis is the disease that goes along with it. So whether it's a gingivitis patient or a chronic periodontitis patient, we need to be classifying them accordingly. For example, the codes on the slide, these relate to how the 1999 AAP diagnostic classification should be written. A patient might be a generalized healthy with isolated slight acute gingivitis, maxillary molars. Okay, that's a diagnostic statement, and we treat it or care plan it with an adult prophylaxis. Okay, so as a profession, we've got to be clear on what the cause is and then what the care plan or treatment's going to be. And that's going to be a whole different mindset for a whole lot of hygienists.
Right, because our treatment decisions should be based on what the cause is. And also, we need to be more detailed in our documentation. So instead of adult prophylaxis, it would be, for example, what we see here, acute gingivitis, plaque-induced, and what other descriptors need to be involved.
Right. Good question. It's going to be different. Okay. One of the things I often get asked is with these codes, there isn't a code for something. We know that technology and products are evolving, and there may be a certain type of fixed or a removable prosthetic device that's made out of a different kind. It isn't metal, it isn't resin, it's maybe manufactured 3D, and there's no code for it. If you remember back to those categories, there was the 1000s, the 2000s, the 3000s. Every one of those has a non-specific code. It's called a 0999 code. So if you had something in the endo section that you needed, there was no code for it, you could do a 3 for the 3000,999 and then a narrative of what that is. So you can go back to all these different codes, and actually there is a code for everything. Whether it's covered or not, that's purely dependent on the insurance plan, and we're not even going to go there. What you want to do is make sure you're documenting the procedures you do. So if there was a preventive code that you felt you needed in there and there was none, it could be a D1999. Notice 999 at the end. You have to write a narrative what it is, and that's where those diagnostic codes could come into play, but there actually is a code for everything. So okay,
thanks Kathy. You gave a great description of the history of the CDs, or the CDT code. It's so interesting to me that it was called Common Dental Terminology, and as soon as they wrote the first one, they immediately began to realize, I think, that oh, we have to revise this. If it's common, it has to be well understood by if not all of us, at least the majority of us have to understand what that is. The other thing that we can be working from many times is an ancient version of that CDT code. If the copy that you have in your office is like 10 years old or 20 or 30 years old, it's not current anymore. So they do change, and it's possible for them now to change every single year, which is why this group was created, in order to influence that that process. And so, are we ready to talk a little bit about the next acronym, the next alphabet soup, which is the CMC?
Right. What is the CMC? The CMC stands for Code Maintenance Committee, and it's a subgroup of the Council on Dental Benefits Programs. And it has 12 voting members. And you can see on the screen who these all are. There's 5 representatives from the ADA, one of whom is the chair, plus a representative from each of the 12 recognized dental specialty organizations. And what our group finds interesting is there's nowhere in there is a dental hygienist considered a dental specialty. There's oral and maxillofacial pathology, radiology, oral medicine, pediatric, perio, etc. But right now there's just 12 recognized dental specialty organizations. Also included are a representative from the Academy of General Dentistry, a representative from the American Dental Education Association, and one representative who represents 5 of the following third-party payer organizations. And you can see American Health Insurance Plans, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Delta, and National Association of Dental Plans. So those are the 24 voting members. What we find so interesting is nowhere in that list of specialty organizations does anyone represent prevention. And so that's one of the things our group is trying to focus in on, is who is representing preventive dentistry, which is what we as hygienists, that's our main focus. The CMC meets every March to vote on codes. Last year, there were 86 different codes submitted. Only about a third of them ever get approved. But we keep going. We've been going there since 2017, and anybody, any one of you hygienists listening to this can submit a code to have them hear it and decide on where they're going with it. But every March, they vote on, like for this one, the 2022, they were voting on codes for the 2023 manual, which will be out in October. So recognizing that sometimes there aren't codes there. Linda, you shared a story once about sealants regarding codes.
Right. I was practicing in St. Paul, Minnesota in a pediatric practice, and the brand new technology of dental sealants came onto the marketplace, and we were very excited because it was so promising. It was a technique that was, again, it landed in the scope of practice for dental hygienists at the time. And so how would we ever request reimbursement for that procedure when there is no procedure in the code manual? It wasn't part of the lexicon. It wasn't part of the terminology, even though they all knew, the people sitting around that table, like you see here, they were at least peripherally aware of it, but they needed a code. Well, insurance companies were never going to pay for that if there was no such thing as a procedure code for it. And it took well over a decade, I think, before the first insurance company recognized that, oh yeah, if we pay for sealants, that means that we're preventing decay and much more expensive procedures down the road. So it became very popular as a benefit. And now sealants, I mean, insurance companies love covering sealants because it makes more money for them if they reimburse at a good rate for sealants. Anyway, at one time when I first started practicing, there was no such thing. Like, oh, wait a minute, you can paint super glue on the pits and fissures, and it keeps about what it was like. So anyway,
we kind of have the same scenario with dental implants.
Exactly.
Once upon a time when I was practicing, I've been in dentistry since I was 14 years old. We're not dental implants. So now we know that peri-implant diseases are complicated. The diseases are complicated, they're on the rise, and there are 2 codes that cause more confusion. But to go to your earlier point, Kathy, of the importance of being able to continue to submit, and then it becomes recognized as a common procedure, and then that's how we move forward
Right.
And grow in the procedure codes.
Yeah.
There was actually a case of that where this was many years ago. I think I forget which organization approached it, but they wanted a gingival irrigation code, and it was put forth by the insurance industry. And the reason being that when you should submit codes for everything you do, whether you get reimbursed or not, but the insurance carriers were finding over 500,000 codes being submitted for gingival irrigation. And so the insurance carriers went, maybe this is something we should think about. And they actually created the gingival irrigation code. So it can come from the other direction also. It isn't just it's something we put out there that needs to be done, but the insurance industry, if we keep sending them all the codes that we do, not just, well, they won't reimburse it, so we won't even put it on the claim form. No, you've got to put it on there. How did they know we're using it and need it unless we submit it?
I also wanted to share with the experience, because I know that sometimes hygienists are interested in these kinds of things, but the scene can be intimidating, and it's not intimidating at all, especially when we are there to advocate for what we know, what we specialize in, which is prevention and non-surgical therapies. It doesn't really matter that you have representation on the board. I'm sorry, on the committee. You still might not be able to get what you put forth through. I could definitely share and had compassion for the orthodontist that was on the call this year and was trying to, there was a conversation about retainers. Should we be using language that deciphers whether it's an upper or a lower? And the person said, I'm the one doing these procedures. Well, can you imagine how we feel? But it does give an opportunity for like an interdisciplinary learning environment, because there is collaboration that happens. There are committee members that come up to us and say, we're interested in what you want to do. We want to support you. We just need to learn more about it is all. So progress is slow, but it happens. But like you said, Kathy, we'll keep going.
We'll keep going. Great. Now to the final acronym. Linda?
I'm here. There we go. DentalCodeology Consortium. Yes.
This is
the important acronym of all.
Yes, most important one, DCC. This organization in the beginning, first of all, I want to let you know that it's all volunteer. None of us directors, none of the members, nobody gets paid anything. We do this because of a passion. Yeah, because of a passion for being able to help the profession and help with prevention. And Patty DeGangi organized this way back in 2016 as an ad hoc committee of the American Dentalist Hygienists Association, and it started out with hygienists from across the country. There were over 200 of us, and if you can imagine managing virtual meetings with 4 time zones, it was a phenomenal feat that she was able to pull it off. And we would meet, and then we would break into subgroups and come up with procedure codes. It was just mind-boggling how that all worked. The name of the organization kept changing and morphing, and finally decided Dental Codeology was Patty's registered trademark, and she wanted to see us continue this group after she retired in 2020, but at Dental Codeology Consortium. And right now, our mission is to influence the creation, definition, and maintenance of dental diagnostic and procedure codes. And the number one goal, of course, as we just mentioned, is to see that a hygienist is brought to the table, essentially that we are able to have a member representing prevention on the CMC. No one addresses prevention. Tried 2 years ago. It was put off. It was tabled for a while. So we're going to keep pushing with the help of the American Dental Hygienists Association to see that we have a hygienist sitting at that table. The second goal is to foster consistency and fairness in nomenclature and descriptors. Right now, several of the codes have the word that it can only be completed by a dentist. Yet in the other part of the manual, it says anybody by virtue of their licensure can do whatever code is in there. So there's inconsistencies, and we would like to see that fixed. A third goal is develop and submit dental procedure code proposals to the CMC. Prior to that 2020, we had work groups. Right now we've got the directors, and we actually submitted 5 codes this last time. They were all rejected, but we make a statement. They know that we are there. We are there every year since 2016, showing up, and you know, they're recognizing that we have a place. And as Shavonne mentions, we've had other organizations come up to us at those meetings and say, we really appreciate you being here and we see what you're saying, let's talk further. So we've developed a lot of collaborative partners out there. I've attended at most of them since 2016. Our group, the DCC, has gotten 6 new codes, either new or amended through, and we view that as a very great achievement to be able to do that, because hygienists haven't been able to do that prior to 2017. There weren't any hygienists submitting codes. So we've got 6 approved. We've had an influence, but we're not only there looking at dental hygiene codes, we're actually providing testimony on other dental codes that have nothing to do with dental hygiene, but our group talks and meets and says, we can support this, or this is a good one, or this one they've got a point. So we're not only just providing testimony on our submissions, we're providing testimony on, like I said, there were 86 of them last year. A couple of years ago, there were 146. So we look at them all, we read them all. We just don't look at the hygiene ones. We want to see dentistry as a whole, because if we have a seat at the table, we have to look at all of them, and that's what our group is doing.
And Kathy, wasn't there during this year's meeting where you were asked for input, where they were amending something right on the floor?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Absolutely. Awesome. There was a particular code that hygienists, particularly the D4355 debridement code, which seems to come up for, and it was, we were asked to provide input on an amendment, and it fit the goals of our group, and they actually asked us if we would be supportive of this. So we were able to actually on the House floor, or the committee floor rather, to actually provide testimony and say we agree with this. And that's the first time they've come up to us and asked for our input, which is pretty good accomplishment. It's progress.
Shows what happens when you keep showing up.
That's it. Well, Patty, as I mentioned, retired in 2020, and the leadership team, which we will show you, the 6 leaders, became directors. These are the 6 directors. The 3 on the right were from the original leadership group. The 3 on the left were new as of this past last couple of years. And we meet monthly to talk about concerns that we get through comments on our Facebook page, which is our main way of communicating right now. Our website is not quite up yet, but we're meeting from the Facebook page, and we're available we talk about things. In fact, it was this group our directors who decided we needed to put more information out there for you. Our Facebook page is up to 691 members. It was 678 at the beginning of the week. So we're gaining them daily, and we love having that input and being able to reach out and ask for expertise in certain areas. Maybe we need someone to know more about something in specific. So that's our way of reaching out to the other hygienists that are out there that might want to be involved in this kind of stuff. So right now we are gearing up for the March meeting in 2023, and we've got the November 1st deadline for submissions. So that's only 5 months away. So we're going to be reaching out to you and asking for input on where you see gaps, where you would see codes like to be changed. So that's where we're headed. We're going to be doing more informational videos for you. And right now I'm going to let Linda close us out. And I'm just going to personally thank all of you for listening to this.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Shavonne, for doing this presentation and putting this up for others to look at. You're the VIPs. You've done some diligent work deciphering CDC codes, CMC processes, and helping us all to understand it better. Watch for IMs, TMs, DMs, FB posts, emails, and future informational videos so you too can speak in acronyms like a boss. It's been a blast putting this thing together, and we really want to do more, because as soon as we do one thing, people will generally have questions. We know what your questions are, some of them, but if you're inspired to do so, please keep in contact with us. If you're looking at this now from the Facebook page, drop us some notes and some questions and some comments, because we use your questions to develop new ideas for that CDT manual and what we can bring to that group and help them make the manual user-friendly, fair, again, back to our mission and goals. So best way to communicate with us as DCC advisors is through the Facebook page at this time. Until next time, peace out.
Yes, DCC Boss Life. We'll see you on the next Table Talk, everybody.
Great.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.